things that are, you don't have the ability to do, or things that are working against you. This is where you are. Okay? And this is where you were before. Okay? I'm gonna have both of you speak. Okay? So just be ready, and I'll kind of like get ready while you're here. Okay? So just take some time to think about it. Oh wow. Okay. There's one person in the middle. Now there's five. This is interesting. Okay. Be careful with those. Okay. So I'm gonna have people in the middle speak. Who haven't I heard from today? Victor. Why are you here in the middle?
Because the beauty of like
So the question's asking, right, or statement, which of your identities do you get the most disadvantages from?
oh,
You get the most disadvantages from age.
yeah.
Okay. So I didn't ask you what the benefits were from age. So what were some of the benefits you got from age?
When you're older and everybody enjoys
Okay, so what are the disadvantages because of age? So maybe, yeah, take some time to think about what are the disadvantages. Okay, I think people may be confused. Does anyone know what disadvantages are?
Yes.
Okay. Right, so these are things, like I said, right, that are like done against you in a way that's like unfair to you. Things that, you have to basically work twice as hard to do something because of this part of your identity or something like that, right? So, what's your identities?
Right now.
This is all right now. This is all right now. Remember that, yeah. I'm not talking about long run. We can talk about that, but I'm curious of where you think you are right now. Which one do you get the most disadvantages from right now, as of this moment? So maybe people need to move around or not, but I think Jocelyn was here in the middle, so I'll ask you what your thoughts are. Are you between two or? So, right, so there's all these identities in the room, right? So which one do you get the most disadvantages from? Let's not send the piles of chair, just because we don't want them to tip over and fall. Which one do you get the most disadvantages from? So which ones are not, working or helping you at all? Which ones are working against you? Which ones what do you have that you have to work twice as hard to be able to do something, right? So like I said in the fighting game example, right? If I had more health than my opponent, they're at a disadvantage because they're starting at lower health than me, right? But I have the advantage because I have more health, so I have more time to win and beat him or her. So that's what the question's asking, okay? I think these three are ready to go. They've been here, so I'm just gonna work with them. So Ethan, why are you in gender?
I'm in gender because I heard mom that a boy from school. We were playing soccer and we didn't have a ball, and because we were playing, he said that because I'm a girl and I don't have a play.
Interesting. Because people said that Issa was a girl, that's why they weren't passing her the ball, and she wasn't playing soccer. Thank you for sharing that. That's we'll come back to that in a second. Yeah.
I picked gender because also like what she said that boys don't think we're stronger than them. We could be smarter in different ways, and we also have not to be mean but more technique than them.
Yeah. There's definitely these assumptions that people have just given your one part of your identity. Miranda, do you want to speak on something on that too, or? Okay. We'll come back to it at a later time. Victor, are you over there in religion?
Yeah, because no race.
Race. Okay. What disadvantages do you get for your race?
Because sometimes people they say that I'm black or something, Mexican, and then the one like ruin me or something like that.
Okay. So you get disadvantages because people assume that you're a certain race, which you may not be of, and then already thinking of things like negatively about you. Okay. Where are people over here? You have eight. Okay. I'll have Christian and then Hector go.
The reason this is a disadvantage because I can't drive.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's one disadvantage you have from your age, right? Not being able to drive. What's another disadvantage? or what disadvantages do you get from your age?
Because people feel like they do adult stuff.
Okay, people don't let them do adult stuff. Do you want to give me one example maybe? So we heard like driving, not being able to drink.
Yeah. Whoa.
Okay, yeah, not being able to eat too much, that's a disadvantage, right? Maybe you're still hungry,
I'm not sure.
but not being able to eat too much. Alright, so I'm gonna go with wine and then we'll move on, okay? Everyone paying attention? Victor, we're good?
The reason why age is an advantage and a disadvantage is because I do things like I could do things like that other people can't do because of their age, but also I could be too old to do some things that I used to like.
Interesting, yeah. So there's like the two part of that, Christian?
Wait, another thing, if you work, they pay you less than $9.
Oh, okay. So disadvantage of being young, right, is kind of the amount of pay that they give you. Yeah, and most of you are around what, age of 12, 13?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think 14 is the age, right, where you're able to begin work, like actual working for like somebody. I think it says in the family business or something. I'm not too sure on specifics, but yeah, in terms of pay, maybe you definitely probably won't get paid as much as someone who's like older and more experienced. Maybe. That's all really good stuff.
Wouldn't a family business, if he does the manager and you work there, you're just getting the money still?
Yeah.
Because he has the money.
Yeah, I think that works. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next one, which I think is very similar. Okay. Just as a reminder, yes, the camera's there, but if it's a distraction, we're gonna remove it. Okay. Because I don't want people playing around it or playing with it, just because it's someone else's equipment and stuff. Okay. So let's just move forward with the class and try to get through as much as we can with the time that we have left. So I'm gonna say the second statement or question, and it's gonna be very similar to this last one that we just did about disadvantages. And for that, I'd like everyone to like come in right here to the middle as a starting point. It doesn't matter. So this question is, which of your identities has the most stereotypes associated with it? Now, does everyone know what a stereotype is?
Like those videos that say stereotypes of driving.
Yeah.
Or like when people like say,
The types
this
of-
person can't drive because supposedly they have small eyes or make fun of them.
Right. So we just heard a couple of examples of what some stereotypes are. So I'll just go ahead and like try to define it, right? So stereotypes are assumptions that people make about a particular group or a particular group of people, right? So if you are of a certain race, people have stereotypes of that race. They're like, oh, they're this, or they act this way, they do this, et cetera, et cetera. Also, in terms of like gender, right? There's a bunch of stereotypes. We heard a couple today, right? Oh, because I'm a female or a man, I can't do this thing, or I can't do that other thing, right? So stereotypes are things that like we may come across in most of our everyday lives. Sometimes we have stereotypes on other people, right? As something like, as humans, right, we have this thing called implicit bias, which means it's like bias that is just like there. Like we tend to be quick to judge people and assume things about people, right? That's where this bias comes in, and we look and think about them in a specific way. So that's where like stereotypes come from, right? You're saying this person or this group of people all fit under this umbrella of who I think they are and things like that. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what stereotypes are and things like that, but I want to answer also the question first.
There's a YouTube channel called Dude Perfect, and they do stereotypes of like driving.
Yeah.
They do like types of drivers.
I have seen that, yeah. So right, there's like, group of people, right? It's like certain car drivers, right?
Who drive slow.
They're like, yeah, there's the slow driver, there's the things, and they're like, they reenact, right? these different stereotypes, like, oh, by driving slow, this is how they're doing this and that. And so those are more like, you know, for fun. Those are more like funnier stereotypes, like not too serious, right? Everyone has their different like driving style, which is cool and things like that. Right, exactly. But in terms of like our identities, with the words that, right, the terms that are around the classroom today, these are stereotypes that are more prominent, meaning that they're more, you know, what's another word for prominent? They're more, just like in our everyday lives, they're just there. Like these are things that we like have come across. So I want us to get a better image of what we think stereotypes are. So maybe we can come up with a couple of examples of things that we've heard, right? Now, these not necessarily are things that we believe in. These are not things that we believe in, not necessarily. Actually, instead of doing that, I think I'm going to just quickly go over some stereotypes that I go through, okay, right? So when people look at me, right, they see me as a black male in the United States, right? And so because of that, to some people, I'm a threat because people think that as a black person, right, I'm prone to violence, which means that like I'm more capable of like being violent or, you know, being aggressive, right? These are the stereotypes. They're like, as a black person, wow, he is probably aggressive, he's probably violent, right? These are things that I experience. People think that about me, right? Also, stereotypes like, oh, he probably doesn't go to school, right? And even on that, right, definitely doesn't go to Stanford, right? He's probably at a community college or not in school to begin with. He's probably been to jail, you know, things like that. These are just like some of the stereotypes that like people have of me, which are like good examples of some of the ones that most people face today. You know, Donald Trump is right running for president. Some of the things that he says, right, are stereotypes against people, more specifically against Mexicans, right? Some of the things that he said, right, they're criminals, they bring crime, they bring drugs, things like that. He's stereotyping this group of people because of what he's heard, his beliefs, right, which are not necessarily true of the people who like he's stereotyping, right? I'm not violent, I would say, right? Like I do go to school. I've never been to jail, right? I go to Stanford. These are things that like I don't fall into those stereotypes, and that's something that we want everyone, each and every one of you, to be aware of, right? That there are stereotypes already put against you because of your skin color, because of your gender, because of your community, where you come from, right? East Palo Alto, Menlo Park, like people are already thinking things about you that are not necessarily true, okay? And so I just wanted to like keep in mind that this is the reality for so many people. And our job, right, well, something that we want us to do is like prove people wrong, challenge them, speak out when you hear these things, right? Like if someone says something, you're like, why did you say that? Or what makes you think that, right? Like just really engaging with them. I know a lot of you are probably like, oh, I probably won't do that now, but like in the long run, when you're in high school and more even in college, like you're gonna come across a lot of these things and you're gonna be like, whoa, like I am a little bit more aware of these things and can figure out how I can begin to address them now. That's definitely what happened for me, right? At your age, I was not thinking about stereotypes, right? I didn't realize why my mom was saying I couldn't walk to school by myself, right? At the time, because there were these stereotypes against me, and she was just fearing for my safety. And yeah, so now this is the statement that I have for you all, right? Which of your identities has the most stereotypes associated with it, right? Which one do people think, like, when they think of you, they're like, like, which part of your identity, they're like, oh wow, you know, I can see them doing this, or this, right? Try myself and then go over here.
They're not recording anymore? Yes.
Remember, we're ignoring the camera, okay? So we're not asking about it. Okay, So we have, are you in ability status? You're just, okay. Maybe you should come to the middle then, if you don't know where you want to go. Your class and gender. Okay, we have about what, four people in race, and you're in education. You're thinking. Okay, and we have 2 in sexual orientation. We actually, I don't believe, have had many people in sexual orientation, so I'm going to start here, just to see what like people are thinking. So either Miranda or Yasmin.
Does it have to be me?
The question, right, the point of this activity is for you to begin like exploring your own identity. So yes, the whichever part of your identity best fits the description of this word or the statement, right? So which one of your identities has the most stereotypes associated with it? So thinking about in terms of you, who you are. So maybe yeah, people are confused or need some more clarification on that. Okay, yeah, okay, we're moving now. All right, I'm gonna start over here with this race. This is one of the biggest ones. Juan, what are some? Why is race your identity that has the most stereotypes associated with it?
It has a lot of stereotypes because people usually make fun of people for it, like me. Like they say, oh, why don't you go somewhere else? Why don't you just go pick the cotton out of the farm? Or they make jokes that are racist, like they say, like jokes like, oh, so what do you call to basketball? Or like say things like that make fun of me and my race.
Yeah. How many people have had similar experiences where people have said comments about your race that maybe are like not true, or most likely not true, right? So most of us have felt that, and that's just the reality for so many people. Okay. Anyone else want to share, Oscar?
Some people like other people they think like that because since I'm Salvadoran, they think that the country's like poor and I think that.
And just think automatically, right, that you come from this impoverished country and things like that, right? I've actually, yeah, I've had like similar things, right? Because most of my friends who come from other countries, right, in Central America, are always downplaying El Salvador, and you know, in terms of like discussions, and they're like, oh, like our country's better than yours, and things like that, right? And because of that, it just perpetuates this like stereotypes that like, oh, there's like people who are better and people who aren't, and there's a lot of things that go with that. But yeah, that's definitely also a very true thing. I'm gonna go end with here in gender, and then we're gonna move on to one of our last statements, and then I have some stuff that I want to go through. You said it, or yeah, or Miranda?
Because I'm a girl, a lot of guys say that I can't play video games, right? And I also get judged by my sports and that.
Okay, yeah. So in terms of sports and video games, right? A lot like society is like, oh, men are the ones who like are more commonly the ones who do sports, right? They're the ones that are more represented and the ones that are, you know, broadcasted all the time. In video games, right? Everyone like assumes that only guys play video games, but that's not necessarily the case, right? That's definitely not true. Right. So yeah, those two are great examples of like stereotypes that come with your specific gender. What?
I have something to share about that.
Okay.
Actually, there's like a couple of people on YouTube that actually are girls that play games, but they get judged a lot. And then like what they do is they still play.
Yeah, yeah.
And they don't care.
Interesting. Do you hear or see videos of guys playing video games and them getting judged as much as the girls?
No. They're usually less likely to
They
be
get
judged.
hate comments.
Or they either get hate less than girls do.
All right. Yeah. We probably aren't making gross comments, right? Aren't harassing them in the same way as they probably would females in that space. And so yeah, these are like a lot of things that are like very, you know, very real and very dear to like our lives because right that affects us when we hear these things, right? Because then we eventually start to begin to think like negatively about ourselves, like wow, is this really true about me and who I am? Like And you start thinking about these things, but I want you to know that, right? Like you're gonna get a lot of that simply just based off our color. Like that's a fact, that's the reality of things. So if you ever want to talk about anything, just know that I'm here. The rest of the staff members, right? The other teachers are here. If you want to take some time and just like talk, vent about some things that you've heard, things that you want to talk about, we're here for you and are willing to do that at any point in time, okay? Just putting that out there as a general reminder, right? That we're here for you. Okay, I'm going to do maybe one or two last statements, and then we'll wrap this up and then get into our next thing on the agenda, okay? So, we just talked about benefits, disadvantages, stereotypes. So now this one is asking, which of your identities do you feel needs the most exploration or development? Which one do you think you need to work on the most or learn more about? Right? So this may be one that you're not familiar with, something that you never thought about or never had the opportunity to like talk further about this one part of your identity. Which of your identities do you think needs the most exploration or development? We have one in the middle. Two in the middle. Okay. Right. So, which of your identities do you feel needs the most exploration or development?
I think class and also my ability status. But I think class more because I already know a lot about where I am on
The different levels of, right? Okay. Okay, yeah. So wanting to learn a little bit more about where you stand in terms of your socioeconomic status, definitely. Lisa? Okay, yeah. Yeah, ability status was brought up for some people last class too. So maybe one or two people from ability status. Hector, do you have something to share? What's something that you want to explore or develop in terms of your ability status? Is there something that you like want to try, something you want to do, or something you just want to learn more about? Okay. Take some time, think about it, and I'll come back to you, okay? Oscar?
I picked ability status because I want to explore, I want to see what I'm capable of doing and learn something new.
Okay, yeah. And more?
I also picked ability status because I want to explore new sports and see if I might be able to play them or if I will have fun playing them.
Yeah. So trying out new things, right? Different sports, like seeing what it is that you're capable of doing. So I'm gonna come back to you, Hector, after I hear from other people. Where are both of you standing? Okay, can we not mess with the cups, please? Thank you very much. So why education? What do you want to explore or develop here?
because it was really new.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a long, journey ahead of you in terms of schooling. So you'll definitely get exposed to a lot of different things. Christian?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is there anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay. One person. Are you both in religion? Okay. What's something you want to explore or develop here?
So, I want to explore more and learn more about my religion.
Okay. Is there anything specific that you want to do? Okay. Cool. And
Oh, it's the same.
okay. So I'm gonna come back to Hector now for ability status. What's one thing that you want to explore or develop a little bit more? More countries? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that knowledge, right? Okay. I can definitely see that being something people want to learn more about. All right. Okay, so for myself, I would identify myself under the race category. Okay, so for me, right, as I mentioned many times before, I am biracial, right, which means I am half Salvadorian and half black. So I grew up with my mom in that Salvadorian culture, learning that history, right? So for the longest time, I carried that identity with me for, throughout my life, and kind of ignored or just like put aside, that black culture and history because that was just something I wasn't super exposed to or something I wasn't necessarily learning about. And so when I was looking for colleges and everything, I was like, when I go to college, that's one